What's up guys? Today's video is going to be a little bit more casual than usual. My typical videos aren't scripted by any means, but they usually are a little bit planned out as far as the points that I want to make and the things I want to discuss. And today I do have a specific point in mind that I want to discuss with you, but I haven't really, planned out any points that I want to make. I want to kind of just have more or less what would be a casual conversation. And the topic is going to be about entrepreneurship, hustle culture, the toxicity of all of that, and this situation that I'm finding myself in where I feel almost guilty, or not almost guilty, I feel guilty for relaxing, or actually that's not true, I don't feel guilty for relaxing, but I feel like I'm supposed to feel guilty for relaxing. And perhaps this is something that you can relate to, whether or not you're an entrepreneur, whether or not you're self-employed. I think that this is something that's very ingrained into society as a whole, particularly into our generation, this generation of like millennials or Gen Zers, or like basically everybody younger than the boomer generation, where we're constantly being told no matter what we're doing that we're not doing enough, we're not working hard enough, and everything in the world that we don't have that we want, well, it's our fault that we don't have it because we're just not trying hard enough. And it's overwhelming. And so I want to kind of start at the beginning for a little bit of background. For people who haven't watched my channel before, I am self-employed. I don't really discuss what my profession, what my business is on this channel. At this point, at least, I've decided I want to kind of keep some separation between my in-person life and my online life. And so I'm trying to keep my privacy intact. But I will say that I am self-employed. I own and operate my own business. I work with the public, offering services to people. I think a lot of the time when people pursue the self-employed route, they have this like innate desire to be an entrepreneur. Like it's in their body, it's in their DNA, and it's something that they strive to their whole life to, own a business or start a business, to do something that comes with a lot of prestige, that makes them a ton of money, and they have like this hustle mentality. And that's fair enough, but for me, I honestly have to say that it was the complete opposite. The thing that led me to self-employment, actually self-employment in itself wasn't necessarily a goal for me. And it's not to say that I had plans to work for somebody else. I, have had kind of not the best attitude towards work my whole life, but that's actually what eventually led me to self-employment, was not having this entrepreneurial spirit, not having this like hustle mentality, but on the contrary, hating authority, not wanting to be told what to do, and wanting to be able to control the amount of pressure that's put on me, not to have expectations and demands put on me by other people that I had to meet and feel overwhelmed by. It was more of a desire to want to be able to chill, want to be able to relax and do things at my own pace that led me down this route. And I have been self-employed now since 2015, I believe. We're in 2021 now, so that'll be 6 years that I've been working for myself, that I haven't had a boss. And things have gone very well on the outside. I mean, for me, success is defined as just being able to continue doing what you're doing. So I'm successful by my own definition. I don't make a shit ton of money. I don't live in a really big, expensive house. I drive like a pre-owned Toyota. I have what I would consider to be a very modest lifestyle, but I'm content with what I have for the most part, whether or not it suits someone else's idea of success. And the truth is that I actually have the opportunity to make a lot more money than I do if I want to work more and work harder than I'm currently working, but I don't. But anyways, when I first started my business, one of the things that was the most important to me was to be able to put boundaries up to maintain my own sanity, my own mental and physical well-being. So for me, I've never been a morning person my entire life. I've never been able to get myself up early. I'm not productive before like noon at the very earliest. And so being self-employed gave me the opportunity to set my own hours and decide that I was going to work afternoons and I was going to work evenings, but I didn't have to work mornings, and there was nobody that could force me to do that. It allowed me to, determine what my time is worth to me on a financial basis and set my prices according to that. And most importantly, is it allowed me to take the things that are most important to me, which honestly isn't work, my personal obligations, my personal priorities, the things that I care about, and to put those things into my schedule first and then fit my business life around it. And in a lot of ways, I've been pretty successful at maintaining my boundaries over the years and keeping my priorities intact and doing exactly what I wanted to do, which is, to fit my work life around my home life versus the opposite. But in a lot of ways, I've also been really bad at maintaining boundaries. In a lot of ways, I've also, allowed people to kind of push me into situations that I don't want to be in. And it's nobody's fault but my own, because I don't have a boss. I am the boss, which means that nobody can physically force me to work earlier than I want to, or later than I want to, or on a day that I don't want to. Nobody can force me to work for less money than I want to. I'm the one that calls all the shots, but I allow myself to be pressured into these situations, sometimes by other people, but often just by my own brain. And that's maybe the worst part. You know, like I said, I've been doing this about 6 years now, and nobody's really ever commented on my policies and procedures and the way that I do things. No one's ever really made outwardly negative comments. The vast majority of the pressure and obligation and stress that I feel comes from my own brain. And I think that's the hardest part, because that's the only voice that I can't tell to shut up. Like, I try to, but I just can't shut it off. You know, that's the only voice that I can't hang the phone up on, or that I can't finish the appointment with and leave. Because this one follows me around everywhere, obviously, you know? One of the other things I decided was that I wasn't going to work weekends. And that's something that's been a little bit of a weird one for some people. I have, you know, people who really wish I had weekend availability for them, but I don't. And thankfully, as I've become busier, I've had less reason to care if that doesn't work for somebody. And the craziest part is that, you know, for a number of years, for example, with the weekends thing, I wouldn't admit to not working weekends. If somebody asked me if I was available on a Saturday or Sunday, I wouldn't say, no, sorry, I don't work weekends. I would just lie and tell them that my weekends were fully booked for the next several months, so that they had to pick a different time spot. And that's so weird, because there's no reason I can't say to somebody, no, I don't work weekends. You know, that's my right. I can choose my business. Like, who the fuck cares? But I felt like, you know, if I'm saying to somebody, no, I don't work weekends, then they're going to think that, you know, I'm lazy, that I'm screwing around, that I don't take my business seriously enough. I take my business very serious, but it's not my whole life. You know, there's some people who commit their entire life and their entire identity to their job, and I'm not one of those people. I do take my job seriously, but it's more important for me to have, you know, good mental health and to have a life outside of work. And so particularly when I moved away from home, working weekends was completely off the table, because weekends became the only time that I would be able to see my family or to see my friends. Like, you know, having a day off in the middle of the week doesn't do me any good when no one else is around. And so it took me a long time to become comfortable looking somebody in the eyes and saying, no, I don't work weekends. And I do it all the time now. I say that, and most people don't say anything. They just say, okay. Or I've had even a couple of people say, oh, good for you. You know, I'm sure there's a few people who get annoyed by it, but truthfully, I don't care. I've had people say, well, like, oh, don't clients want you on the weekend? And yeah, clients do want me on the weekends. Some of them do. But again, now I am in this situation where, you know, the demand that I have exceeds the supply that I can give. And so I can pick, you know, I can pick really niche, really like weird hours to work if I wanted to. And I have enough demand that I can fill those hours. And, you know, if I don't please the whole world, so be it. But again, that's something that's been hard for me too, is, you know, learning to turn people down, learning to say no to people, learning to kind of draw a boundary. And it's this toxic hustle culture that is so ingrained in us, that if every moment of the day that you aren't working, you aren't grinding, you aren't hustling, you aren't making money, then you're being lazy and you're being entitled and you're giving up opportunities. I fall victim to that mindset more often than I'd like to admit. So as I mentioned, you know, okay, I decided I'm not working mornings and I'm not going to work weekends. And actually I work on like basically a 4-day week. I'm always have administrative stuff to do, including on the weekends. I'm always, you know, doing scheduling and emails and all that kind of stuff. But as far as actually, you know, being out of the house working, I work a 4-day week and I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And that's something that I've actually never told anybody. You know, when clients ask me, oh, are you available on Friday? I'll lie to them and say, oh, well, you know, I'm fully booked, or, you know, I'm working in a different area. I won't be in your area on Friday. But I've never been comfortable admitting to somebody that I have 3 days off in a row, because that's just seen as, you know, a privileged lifestyle. And I acknowledge, you know, that I'm living a privileged lifestyle, that I'm able to work a 4-day week and pay for my lifestyle and pay for my, you know, my home and pay for my bills. But with that in mind, I don't see a reason to work harder. I don't need more money. I don't want more money. I just want a chill life. I want to come home and walk my dog and read a book and cook dinner and just chill. But then when, you know, somebody calls me and I don't have availability for them, I say, sorry, I'm fully booked, there's this little voice in the back of my head that goes, well, you could make room for them. You could start an hour earlier, or you could work an hour later, or you could, take on some work on Friday, or you could do this, or you could do that. And the truth is that, technically I have more hours in the day, but it's a slippery slope, because at what point do you draw that line? Okay, fine, so I decide to work an extra hour every day. Well, why not one more? Well, why not one more? Well, why not work Fridays? Well, why not take on a weekend? For somebody who works a typical office job, if you work a 40-hour week at an office, well, why not, take an evening job too? Why not come home and go work at the grocery store from, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.? Why not? Well, because there has to be a line. Technically speaking, yes, there are more hours in the day that if you actually wanted to allocate to work and to making money, you could do that. But where do you stop? Where do you relax? And I just feel like I'm doing something wrong when I say no to people. I feel like I'm doing something wrong by prioritizing my own real life over my work life. I feel like if people knew that I only worked a 4-day week, they would think I'm lazy or entitled or, whatever the case, whatever they think. And it makes me think, okay, first of all, would people actually think that, or am I just projecting that myself? If I hired somebody and they said to me, oh, I only work 4 days a week, I'd say, awesome, good for you. But again, I come at it from a perspective of somebody who doesn't fall into the belief that productivity is everything, that earning money is priority number one. Like, I don't align with that belief. And so if somebody was in my situation, I would be like stoked for them. I'd be happy for them. But I know that that's not the mentality most people have. And so there's a part of me that thinks, that they're going to think these negative things about me, which they may or may not. But let's say even they do. Let's say that they do think those things about me. Why do I care? That's something I ask myself. Why do I care what other people think? Like, let's say ultimately that doesn't affect the quality of the work that I do. When I'm with them, I'm fully with them. I'm fully committed. I do a great job at whatever it is that they need from me. And if they're somehow super offended by that, or it paints me in a negative light to them, again, I'm busy enough that if they are that kind of person, if they've got that much of a stick up their ass, I don't need to work with them anyways. I don't want to work with them. Somebody else will gladly take that spot. So I have nothing to lose by just being honest with people and, having more of a carefree attitude. But I just can't seem to get myself there. I know that I'm not alone in this, but I can't help but ask myself what's wrong with me. But again, here I am justifying myself to strangers for no reason, but really probably just trying to justify myself to myself. I have this juxtaposition in my brain, the one side that says, take it seriously, hustle, work harder, you're trying to accomplish something. And the other side of me that says, just live your fucking life. And I don't know what to do. I know I'm rambling here, but I feel like I've had this on my chest for a while. And, I'm really interested to know your thoughts. I know this isn't even exclusive to somebody who's self-employed. I know this is to some extent something that we all feel, but I think it's toxic. I think that, there's basically two ways you can live your life. You can try and max out every hour of your time and make as much money as physically possible. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what makes you happy. If you are fulfilled by making crazy money and buying yourself extravagant things, then you should absolutely do that. There's this other mindset where it's like, hey, I know what I need to do to take care of myself and to pay my bills. I know how much I have to work and what I have to accomplish to get this all taken care of. And after I hit that goal, once I'm there, I just want to chill. And neither one of these mindsets are wrong. And again, as a consumer, on the consumer end of it, if I was, purchasing a product or a service from somebody who expressed either of these mindsets to me, I wouldn't think that either one of them are flawed. I wouldn't think that there's anything wrong with it. And as I'm saying this, I'm also thinking, why would I even think that it's something they would tell? It's none of my fucking business. And what I do with my life is no one else's business either. But it's just this endless productivity, burning the candle on both ends, feeling guilty for relaxing, feeling guilty for deciding to lie on the couch last night and watch an episode of Ozark when I could have been working on this YouTube video, feeling guilty for taking my dog out for a nice long walk in the sunshine when, I should have been doing laundry, feeling guilty for having 3 days off when I could have 2 days off like everybody else in the world has, if they're even lucky, and I could, increase my income by 20%. But where does it stop? and what's the point? And if I'm happy with what I have and I'm not taking anything from anybody and I'm not hurting anybody and I'm living my life in a way that brings me as much peace as possible, what's wrong with that? And why won't I allow myself to actually indulge in and enjoy that peace? Anyways, that's all I have on this topic. I apologize for what's probably going to come up as a very rambly, chaotic video, but I really felt like I need to get this off my chest, and I feel a lot better now that I have. I wouldn't be surprised if not very many people watch this from beginning to end, but hey, if you did, let me know in the comments, and thank you very much for watching, but let me know that you watched it and let me know your thoughts on this more kind of casual sit-down video. If this isn't the kind of content you expect to find on my channel and it's not really what you're looking for, I totally understand. I will come back next week with another video kind of more in line with what you're expecting. But if you did like this video, if you did watch it, please go ahead and hit the like button. It does help me out tremendously. It helps me to know if these types of videos are something you're interested in seeing or not. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, drop me a comment, etc., etc., etc. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.